What's up, guys? Hunter here with another Tuesday tip. Today I wanted to talk to you about how I come to choose my exercises, or exercise selection, and the thought process that goes into it. I have it boiled down into like three things. Like the lens that I look through, it's got like three filters on it, right? So I'll go through each filter with you per se. The first one being the bracing and stability it offers. One of my favorite, sayings to illustrate this is you can't fire a cannon from a canoe, right? You fire a cannon from a canoe, you're flipping your canoe. Got to have a nice big stable ship to fire a cannon from. So, same thing with us. You have to have a stable platform which to create output from. If you don't have that bracing, like great examples of this that I see a lot are people doing cable flies, not seated in a bench. They're counting on their abdominal wall and, legs to brace them. And you'll see how much, wasted energy there is. Like all of that swaying back and forth, all of that's wasted output. That's, output that could be coming from your chest, but it's coming from other places, or it's escaping because you don't have a good bracing, good stability, good bracing. So that's always the first lens that I look through is, like how can I make the exercise that I'm wanting to do as stable as possible. So if I'm wanting to do, like a flying movement, obviously I'm going to be seated in a bench. I have to be stable. If I'm doing a bicep movement, okay, no, I'm not just going to do it standing. I'm going to do it, on a preacher bench because I'm able to really stabilize my humerus and, create a lot of output and brace with it. What are some other good examples of, bracing? Another good example would, be side laterals. You'll see a lot of people do side laterals completely unbraced with dumbbells, and don't get me started on dumbbells. That'll be one of the lenses we talk about after the stability lens. But there's a lot of momentum and body English and wasted output when you could just put them on a bench and have their chest driven into the bench, and there's braced, a lot more braced, a lot more stable, and they're able to create a lot more output. My experience has been that whenever you really focus on stabilizing and bracing, you're not as strong as you thought you were. So that might be a reason why some people don't like to really implement that into their training. But that's the first lens that I look at. The second lens that I look at after, like the bracing or the stability is the resistance profile. What's the resistance profile? The resistance profile is, throughout the range of motion, what is the weight doing? How much, resistance is felt at the handle, at the apparatus, whatever we're using. In a picture-perfect world, and in a world where we're really choosing our exercises well, that resistance profile will match the strength profile of the muscle. And what that is, a fancy way of saying is, if we're talking single joint movements, the load will be lightest when the muscle is shortest and heaviest when the muscle is longest. So, for example, single joint movement, a tricep extension. We want to do that, maybe on a cable whenever it's creating that 90-degree angle up top, and then as we come down that cable, the point of leverage makes the resistance load drop off. Another good example could be, instead of doing a dumbbell preacher curl, we use a machine preacher curl where we're able to really dial the resistance in. If we're talking multi-joint movements, a way to really, dial in the resistance profile to match that strength curve, if you will, is, reverse banding, regular banding, adding chains, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of those are, at the end of the day, are tools to alter the resistance profile. And like I said, we're trying to match the strength profile as much as possible. So that is another thing that I really like to think about. That's the reason why you see me working on cables and machines a lot more than free weights these days. Because free weights, they have the same amount of resistance throughout the whole range of motion. And, dumbbells, especially on, like exercises like laterals and curls and stuff, because of gravity being what it is, there's literally zero resistance in some parts. We completely lose resistance. Like when we're doing a curl with a dumbbell, zero resistance. If we're using a cable, even in the hole, we're being pulled back. So it's just things like that I like to think about. So that's what I mean when I think about, picking an exercise that has the best resistance profile as possible. Lastly, the thing that I look at, and these are not, ranked in order of importance. I really think all of these are of equal importance. The last, lens that I look through per se for exercise selection is joint alignment. Joint alignment's exceedingly important. The bigger you get and the longer you do this, because the bigger you get, the funnier your angles will be to get proper joint alignment, and then the greater chance you have for developing, tendonitis, tight muscles, sore thises or that's, or even injury if you don't, pay attention to proper joint alignment. Especially with the elbows and knees are the joints that I see present those problems the most, and the hips as well. But what do I mean by joint alignment? What are good examples of selecting exercises that have proper joint alignment? Some single joint ones off the top of my head, a tricep pushdown. When we're doing a tricep pushdown, if you're doing it with a rope, you're unable to keep your scapula packed down and back. It's pulling you forward, and whenever you're here, the resistance is coming from here and then out into your elbow. As you're torquing your elbows, placing a lot of torsion of the elbow joint. A great example to, have the same exact, path of motion, but with proper joint alignment would be either a single arm cable if you don't have access to a narrow cable, or if you have access to the narrow cables, doing the crossed extension at the same time. You'll see when you do them that way, or whenever you do them single arm, we're able to really get the cable, your shoulder, the elbow, and your wrist all in alignment, and really minimize that torsion on your elbow joint and your wrist and your shoulder. So, like I said, very important for longevity, making sure the joint alignment's proper. Some other, really good examples of, exercises that you can really make a difference with joint alignments, ones that you'll see me do at least, are implementing, if you're having to use heel elevation, implementing the solo wedges from Prime, because instead of just using a, regular incline board that you can find anywhere, that as you squat actually concaves your knees in, we're able to, angle those boards out and keep our ankle, knee, and hip all in proper alignment as we move through, the whole range of motion on our squats. And once again, I'm just kind of going through specific examples to illustrate the point of we want to pay attention to our joint alignment in our training. It's extremely important. It will maximize your training and it will maximize your longevity. So, the end of the day, like I said, 3 things that I pay attention to when I'm selecting exercises, and that is the resistance profile, the bracing, and the joint alignment. So, hope you enjoyed this Tuesday tip. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep these coming every Tuesday, as long as, full-length training videos, Q&As, day in the life, and everything else y'all have been asking for. So, hope to see y'all follow along. Enjoy doing these with y'all. See you next time.